What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another Arsenal update video. I know it is World Cup zone at the moment, but there is still news going off surrounding Arsenal. Just thought I would touch base today and keep you updated with everything happening surrounding the club. Big up to everyone who tuned in this morning. Legendary Argentina versus Saudi Arabia streaming. It was epic, I can't lie. There was some scenes when them goals were going in, so I appreciate everyone who tuned in. If you didn't, go back and have a look at the highlights, people. You know, the timestamps are in the comments, people. So a little bit later than usual, just because I don't want to clash with the 1 o'clock kickoff in the World Cup. So 2:45 at the moment. Some days it may be 2 o'clock if needs must, but 2:45 I think we're going to work around while these 1 o'clock kickoffs are going off, people. Hope you're all well. I've got to admit, I'm in the World Cup zone now. As I said before on the watch-along, man, I was very much against the World Cup just for the sense of I was so ingrained in what was going off with Arsenal and the fact that we're top of the league. I didn't want the World Cup at all. I've now got to the point where I'm like, do you know what? I'm actually really enjoying this now. I think the England game was good. I thought England did really well. The Argentina game was exciting. I thought the Welsh game was decent as well. So, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this World Cup and embrace it, man. We wait 4 years for it. So I think the least we can do is enjoy it when it's here, you know. Enjoy it when it's here. Let's see what you're saying, people. Big up Andrew Gasser. Hope you're well. Jaylee said, I'm not fully immersed in it yet. You know, maybe it's a slow burner. Yeah, I'm starting to get into it. I've enjoyed the last few games. Quezzy said, I'm sure you got a call from a Saudi sponsorship after those morning celebrations. Listen, it was lively, man. I can't lie. I got fully involved in it. Yeah, news come out today, people. Big up Depay for this. I did see it earlier. Pep Guardiola, new contract, 2-year contract extension. Do you know what? I'm split on this because on one hand, I want the best managers, the best players to be in the Premier League. You know, I want this to be the strongest league, so that if we ever do win it, we can say we won it while it was, you know, strong. No one ain't going to give us no excuses. But on the other hand, part of me just wanted Pep to say, that's it, I've had enough. I'm going back to Barcelona or something like that. So, but he's here. He ain't going nowhere. And they're going to spend more money, I'm sure. 2-year contract extension for Mr. Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. Big up, Callum. Yes, Big C, finally caught you at the start of a live stream. Loving the content. Appreciate it, bro. Big up Jermaine Harris, big up Big C, and bless up the community. Saka. Do you know what? Let's start with Saka. Let me put this in slow mode, actually. It's going way too quick in the comments. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. Lots of content coming up, watch-alongs. We'll have collabs. I'm going to get some collabs sorted with people. And then, obviously, we'll look ahead to Arsenal as they go out to Dubai for this little mini mid-season break or mini pre-season. Badir said, my sentiments exactly, still getting warmed up to it. And big up Odion, who said, Big C, passed my job interview, can finally leave my current job, been waiting months. So it's big up yourself, man, you know what I mean? Stick the chest out, stick your head up, walk in there. Yeah, man, I'm about that life. So big up yourself. Well done, man. New job, new opportunities. We move, people. See you, Nick. Big up Eros as well, people. Yeah, I'm in Sambila Conga mode. I don't know about anybody else. It feels like Arsenal haven't played a game of football for about 6 months. It's been so long. That Wolves game seems like it was a long time ago. As there was a VAR check on the penalty there. Probably the worst game of the tournament so far, this one. Tunisia, Denmark. But anyway, let's look back briefly on yesterday. Bukayo Saka. I don't know about anyone else, especially the Arsenal fans in the chat. I celebrated these goals like they were not quite Arsenal goals, but very close. Starboy was at it. A lot of people were on Sky, on TalkSport. Saka shouldn't be playing. Foden should play ahead of him. I said, all right, not for me. I actually would play both of them because I think Foden could potentially play in that number 10 role where Mason Mount plays. The problem you've got, Southgate, he loves hard workers, and Mason Mount does more running than Foden. Foden probably better on the ball. So, for me, I had no problem with Saka playing on the right. I think Saka is a better right winger than Phil Foden. Not necessarily a better footballer than him, but a better right winger. I mean, look at the first goal, left foot volley, crossbar and in. The second goal, drifts inside, puts it in the far corner. Man of the match, 2 goals, first ever World Cup game. And it was interesting because I look at the dynamics and you know, we speak about things on here as well. I don't like to ignore things. This is a player that was racially abused after missing a penalty in the Euros final. And I've said before, I think the strongest quality of Bukayo Saka is his mentality. I've seen young players better than him before. I don't look at Bukayo Saka and think, I've never seen a player like you in my life. Technically, he's good. He's not unbelievable. He's very effective. He's very intelligent. But his mentality is sensational. He was at Arsenal, came through as a youngster, played left back, played left wing, played number 10, ends up as a right winger. One of the best in the Premier League, right wing. Grows up with Ozil and Aubameyang, these big players you can look up to. He sees them leave. No problem. I'll step up, player of the season. Goes to the Euros when people were like, he won't play much. Ends up in the England team. And then misses a penalty. Gets that abuse. Has to deal with the heartache of that responsibility that's gone wrong. Comes back to Arsenal. Handles business once again. Been superb this season. Started the season a little bit slow. Since then, he's been magnificent. Goes to the World Cup. First game in the World Cup. Don't get me wrong. The opposition, they're not great. Let's not cap. That wasn't Brazil. That wasn't France. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And that first goal is different class, no matter who you score that goal against. And for me, I think he's humble beyond his years. You've never seen him in the newspaper doing anything stupid in a nightclub. No fights. No stupidity. Just humble. Just handles his business. Just plays. It's probably the reason why his career is on the upward trajectory at the moment. And Arsenal need to get that new contract secured sooner rather than later. So I give him all the credit in the world. I think he deserves it. And I hope he goes. I hope he gets the golden boot. I really do. I hope he gets the golden boot. Usually 4, 5, 6 goals can win you the golden boot. He's got 2 already. So big up to Bukayo Saka. I think the Arsenal fan base in particular was very proud of that performance from him yesterday. And listen, I think his career is only going one way. And that's definitely up. Smokey, thank you for the super chat. You've seen the young Gabby Jesus dribbling compilation. Madness. No, I haven't seen it. I'll have a look. Saka, what a career already. First player at Arsenal to get back-to-back player of the season since Thierry Henry. Even Alexis, even Ozil. Those guys never did that. Latte, all facts, Big C. Big up yourself, bro. UPZ, he absolutely deserves that 200k if Eddie's on 100%. Done a lot for charity. Yeah, listen, I see a thing the other day that he's done a lot of charity work in Nigeria. Roger said, big up Big C in the community. YouTube's still doing you dirty. I'm having to hunt to find your streams. Why? A number of people are saying this, man. What's going on, YouTube? Why aren't people getting notifications that we're live, man? What's going on? Sean said, kid's got some serious cojones, Beckham level mentality since missing that penalty. It's true. That could have really set his career back at that age. He could have been questioning everything. Do I want to play for England? You know, and look at him. Handling business. Fair play to him. Proud of him. And let's make sure that he comes back from there healthily, because there were a lot of there was a lot of bad tackles flying around in that one. Leolu said, YouTube is bugging with the live streams, even though we're subscribed. I don't know what's going off. Notifications being off. YouTube being weird. I don't know what's going off, people. Apologies. Last week, there was a major problem where you couldn't see how many people was in your live. Only Twitch notification notifying that you're live. Okay. I'll have to try and put things on the community page and stuff as well, just to keep you informed. I don't know what's going off. Notifications do not your fault, YouTube algorithm. Anyway, we move on. Apologies. Glad that you're all here if you are here anyway. If not, hopefully people will stumble across the stream if the notifications aren't doing their job. Just one other player I want to talk about quickly from yesterday is Jude Bellingham. we talk about him the other day, and there was a link. It was a bad link. Scott Minto. If you was here, you understand the joke. I genuinely think, and I don't hype English players that much because I've seen us do this a lot in England. But I think he is going to be one of the best midfielders in world football. I honestly do. I don't say that lightly. I very much hold back when it comes to young English talent. We've seen Jack Wilshere look like he was going to be a monster. It didn't happen. I think he's going to go right to the top. And whoever gets this guy next, you've hit the jackpot. I'm telling you now. I would genuinely break the bank to get him. I'm telling you now, if Arsenal get Champions League or if we win the Premier League, I want Arsenal to be linked with him. I can even deal with it if we don't get him. And he goes Man City or he goes Liverpool. We know there's a big link to Liverpool. Gerrard was his idol growing up, even though he's a Birmingham City fan. Apparently he has a lot of like for Liverpool. Real Madrid have been linked. I want Arsenal to be in the conversation. You're talking about one of the best young players in world football. He's unbelievable in my opinion. He only turned 19 in June. I mean, at 19 years of age, I was probably in Iron Apple. I was probably in Iron Apple doing the migraine skank. This brother's in the World Cup. Like, I thought he was the best player on the pitch yesterday. I'm going to be honest. Saka for the 2 goals gets man of the match, but he was the standout player for me. Absolutely outrageously good footballer. And Francis Cagiao, who was the ex-Arsenal scout, was talking about Jude Bellingham. He said, Jude is a player I've known since he was 15 years old when he was at Birmingham. At Arsenal, we even made an offer for him on 2 occasions. His football growth has been as expected. And if anybody heard that story, that apparently Edu cancelled the deal for Jude Bellingham to join Arsenal when he first came into the club. That one definitely doesn't sit well after you're looking at this. You know, apparently he believed it was too much money for a guy who was 16 and relatively unproven at the time. I think it was Tony Adams. Yeah, Tony Adams said Arsenal blew the chance to sign Bellingham from Birmingham after Edu's arrival. The former Arsenal captain said the deal was kind of done until Edu pulled the plug and he went to Borussia Dortmund. I mean, it's another one. You put it in the box, you know, it goes in there. Zlatan, Yaya Toure, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Suarez, all the players we nearly signed. But what a player. And for me, I'd be trying to sign him in the summer. If we've got Champions League money or we win the title, 80, 90 million, I would genuinely pay 80, 90 million for this guy. Can you imagine him next to Thomas Partey? I mean, wow. Look how good he looked next to Declan Rice, and I think Partey's better than Declan Rice. So, yeah, but this is what I was saying the other day. A lot of people were coming for me in the comments when we were talking about Edu getting this new role at Arsenal and the pay rise and the new contract. I said, listen, Edu is doing a good job at Arsenal. He's definitely on the upward trajectory. He's improving alongside Mikel Arteta, in my opinion. But let's not pretend he hasn't had some absolute howlers. You cancelled a deal for Jude Bellingham. You signed Alex Runarsson, one of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen in the history of Arsenal. You signed Willian on a 3-year deal on nearly 200 grand a week. You signed Cedric. You signed Pablo Mari. There's at least 5 big mistakes there. I'll give him credit. You know, Gabriel, Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko. Let me give him his flowers as well. But we also, you know, balance. Everything needs balance. So Edu's still got a lot of improving to do. Let me say that. Dylan, thank you for the super chat. He said starting 11 of nearly Gunners would win the quadruple. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, bro. There's so many. You could go through the team. Like I said, Ronaldo was at the training ground. Didn't get the deal done. Zlatan, they offered him a trial. You know, Yaya Toure, they played him up front in a trial game when he was a midfielder and he played bad. We never signed him. There's loads. We could be here all day. Luis Suarez, 40 million and a pound. You know how that story goes. But anyway, we move people. Clement said we should be putting in a bid for Jude Bellingham because he is now well over 100 million euros. Edu messed up when we had the chance to sign him from Birmingham. I'm kind of, how I was looking at it is, would it be possible to put a player towards it to reduce the value of him? I don't see Arsenal going and dropping maybe £100 million on a player. I think they will be scarred from the Nicolas Pepe deal. Could we give them Nicolas Pepe, actually? You know, he might be all right over there. They play on the counter-attack. He might suit them, you know. Just somebody like that who could reduce the value. Bruno Gomes, I mean, you're spot on. He is a massive mistake. £33 million, wow. Could start for Brazil tomorrow. He is a huge mistake who we should have got as well. But it is what it is. Omid said, Big C, if Mudryk will be another Bellingham when Arsenal don't want to pay the money and then he goes Madrid and the rest is history. See, this is the very difficult thing about football now, right? On one hand, we are, let's be honest, and I'm going to be honest as well, we're a bit snobby as football fans. I don't want Arsenal to sign some unknown Donny that I've never heard of in the hope that he's going to become a top player. Because the reality is not every winger becomes Gabriel Martinelli. You know, when you've signed an unknown and he becomes a top player. On the other hand, you know, he could become Wellington Silva. He could become Yaya Sanogo. You know, there are a lot of unknown Dons who we've signed who've been at that level, who haven't really performed for us. But on the other hand, it's like, if we look at Mudryk now and go, I don't know about signing him, and then he goes Real Madrid, and all of a sudden he's a £120 million player, we're all going to sit there and say, why the hell did we not sign him? We knew he was good. Why did we wait? But Mudryk's going to cost £51 million. That is a big risk for a guy who's relatively unproven. With players like Bellingham, it was 15 million. Martinelli was 7-8 million. If you get that wrong, it doesn't hurt the club that much. That's the difference. So I don't mind Arsenal going and buying 10 million, 20 million pound players with an element of risk, because some of them are going to work and blow up and become top players. It's just when you're spending 51 million for a club like Arsenal, who we're not Manchester City, you know, they signed Nathan Ake for 41 million pounds. And 3 weeks later, they bought Ruben Diaz for 65 million. Once they realised Nathan Ake, 2 weeks, they go, nah, he's not as good as we thought. Get the next one in. Ruben Diaz came in, even better, even more expensive. So I think we do need to take some risks, because we're not in a position to go and outbid Man City, Real Madrid, PSG. But we have to be careful. And that's it. Sambi on paper looked like a good risk. Belgian international. They're having a golden generation. Companies saying he's the new Yaya. Even Thierry Henry gave him the stamp of authority. £17 million. Yep, take that risk. Take it. At the moment, I'm not saying he can't become a better player, but at the moment, he might as well have just gone outside and threw his money in the air in the pouring rain, you know, because we've seen nothing out of him, if we're being honest. Omid said, Big C, as a Madrid fan, I want Arsenal to do a swap with Partey and Camavinga. Honestly, he is bang average. Valverde will take his place. Bellingham will play next to him with Tchouaméni behind. It's crazy because I remember doing them Champions League watch-alongs, and I was saying, this Camavinga looks outrageous. But it hasn't gone on. Tchouaméni's gone ahead of him, and they're obviously being linked with Bellingham. So, listen, I'd take Camavinga, but not at the expense of Thomas Partey. Granit Xhaka's in the chat. Some inside info, Curtis. That Mudryk guy ain't coming. He is stuck at his daily job as a park valet. He's in the car park, yeah? Anyway, company stitched us properly for Bambi. I think 49 million with add-ons will do it for Mudryk. Still a lot of money, especially in a January window. I don't know whether Arsenal will spend that. If we put in an acceptable deal, why does everyone think he would not be happy to come to Arsenal and be the heartbeat of our midfield and lead us back to the very top? I mean, Yardman, I believe you're talking about Jude Bellingham. I would add the balance and say, okay, if you're in Jude Bellingham's shoes right now, you've left England at a young age, you've gone to Dortmund. Dortmund are in the Champions League every season, so he's going to want Champions League football. He's not an Arsenal fan, so he doesn't have the same feeling towards the club that we have. He's purely going to want to go to the best club that he can go to. He's being linked with Real Madrid. Biggest club in the world, really. But the rumour is that I've seen a lot of reports saying he wants to come back to England. But Madrid may be able to convince him. If anybody can, they can. If he comes back to England, he's being linked with Man City. can you turn down Pep Guardiola right now? For Arsenal, maybe the only way you can is if Arsenal win the title. Maybe then. And the other one is Liverpool. It seems as if there's a real connection with Liverpool. He loved Gerrard. Klopp wants him. Dortmund, they may be taken over and have big money. So I just don't know if Bellingham would look at Arsenal as the top priority unless we were to maybe win the title. And then he may look at it different, you know. But it's a very difficult deal to get done. En route said Curtis, 9 of the Saudi players, first 11, play together at the same club. That's why they played well. Green links all over the park. FIFA settings. The chemistry was on fire, you know. They were outstanding today, honestly. That was no fluke. His dad is a massive Liverpool fan. And like I said, he said his idol growing up was Steven Gerrard. And I think there's similarities in his game, actually. Dylan, we don't want to take chances. Neither do players. 100%. 100%. And listen, if I was Jude Bellingham's dad, who I believe is his agent as well, if Arsenal won the league, I'd possibly go, do you know what? They're building something special there. If they finish 3rd, 4th, I don't think I'd be saying go to Arsenal ahead of Man City when Pep's just signed a new deal. You know, with the players that he's got there, you know, he's probably got a friendship with Haaland and Liverpool, that connection. It's difficult. It is difficult, but a title win can change everything. Let's move on. But yeah, for sure, Jude Bellingham, sensational talent. I would love Arsenal to get in that conversation. At the end of the day, and just quickly before I move on, as Arsenal fans, we have to start having that belief and forcing that pressure on the club that you need to put us in those conversations. What did we leave Highbury for? We left Highbury to become a superpower. You can't be one of the biggest clubs in the world and have a stadium that holds 39,000 fans. It's not possible. When Man United are getting 70-odd thousand, Barcelona are getting 90,000. How are you going to compete with those sides? So build a new stadium. Cool, I understood it. I didn't want us to leave Highbury. It was a fortress. But it made sense. We're trying to become a superpower. And that also should have meant that when top players come on the market, we're in the conversation. When's the last time a top player, and I mean top player, was available and Arsenal were in the conversation? We were making offers. We were in talks. Probably Luis Suarez from Liverpool is the last one. Thomas Partey was a good signing. He had a release clause. He was willing to come. Didn't seem like there was a lot of competition for him. When's the last time, you know, when Neymar left Barcelona, were we in the convo? Mbappe's contract was running out. Was we anywhere near that? You would laugh if I put that in the title, Arsenal looking at Mbappe. You'd laugh. I'd be getting abuse in the comments. But we should be in these conversations. This is what we need to do. We need to start thinking bigger and higher. Jude Bellingham should be somebody that we're looking at. We should be trying to get somebody like that. But ultimately, we have to be successful to convince these kind of players. We hardly ever sign top players for big money. And yeah, maybe it's not the Arsenal way. But the reality is, I think times have changed. I think those days of Arsene Wenger pulling rabbits out of the hat and all these players, you know, Vieira out of the reserves at AC Milan and Henry, a winger, those days are pretty much over. All the top clubs have got scouts all over the world. So now I think you do have to spend big money at times. Not all the time, but at times. I think now with this good young team we've got, drop 2-3 star players in that team as well, with the ones that are already developing. He's going to Liverpool as they already have a gentleman's relationship, so all this Arsenal speculation is unnecessary. Yeah, possibly, but, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Liverpool, if they missed out on the Champions League or whatever with the takeover, causes a lot of uncertainty. You just never know. Khalid said it was mainly Arsenal's fault rather than the club itself. I mean, we was talking about this, was it today or yesterday? I was saying, why did Arsene Wenger, and I hate to harp on and go back, but why did Wenger change from fast, powerful, strong teams to small, technical footballers and trying to copy what Pep was doing? You can't tiki-taka better than the people that are the masters of tiki-taka. So what we should have done is stuck with the same process. You're not going to sign another Vieira, but sign somebody in a similar mould. 6'4", strong, big. get another fast striker. I would have stuck with exactly the same blueprint. I don't know why Wenger chased after that Barcelona thing, because you can't beat them. Everyone who's beaten Barcelona over the years, they've beaten them with their own philosophy. Bayern Munich sat back and bullied them and battered them. Inter Milan, when Jose won the Champions League, counter-attacked them. Real Madrid, quick on the break. So it's interesting. MD, you're right. We played some mad saucy football. We know this. Look at the Jack Wilshere goal. We were pure sauce. But when we went to Old Trafford, when we went to Stamford Bridge, when we went to Anfield, we were holding smoke. Real smoke. You know what I mean? Because that little football wasn't working at times. You know what I mean? We were going Chelsea and holding 6. Referee was sending off the wrong player. He didn't even know what was going on. It was crazy. We had all these technicians, but no power. But listen, times are changing. Anyway, let's look ahead. Maybe this guy is going to add to the power. Let's look at the new potential transfer of January, people. And let's look ahead. People saying we're casually talking about the title. This is where I'm at right now. Let's talk about Danilo. Could he be the new... Who could he be? The new Gilberto Silva, possibly. Brazilian DM that hopefully gets things going for us and helps us in that midfield. He's done an interview with Brazilian television. He was asked about his future and a potential January move. Danilo, who plays for Palmeiras, has said, I see myself mature enough to be able to play in any competition in the world. I'm ready. I prefer not to get involved with these issues. I told my agent to only talk to me if it's the right thing. Then we sit down and talk. Now, it's a player we've spoken about time and time again, and I'm sure we'll end up talking about him again, if I'm being totally honest. It looks as if there's a deal there to be done this time. It really does. He's being linked with a move this January. Now that they didn't win the Copa Libertadores, it looks as if he's available. There's a few more stories that I want to add to this as well. But he's talking about his maturity. He said he's ready to move on. And Arsenal, once again, are being heavily linked with him. Now, the second part of this story, which I wanted to show you, was this bit here. From another journalist out of Brazil saying that... here we go. He said... George Nicola, Brazilian journalist, said Arsenal's €25 million bid was rejected for Danilo on deadline day in September. And this was never reported. Remember, on deadline day, they were only saying that we were making offers for Douglas Luiz. There was no real talk of a bid for him on deadline day. But according to this journalist, Arsenal had a €25 million offer rejected on the final day of the transfer window. And he said, if this proposal is repeated, Palmeiras should end up negotiating the sale of the athlete. And the story also goes on to say, when you read all of it, that Ajax and Monaco are also monitoring him with a potential move for January. I would be very disappointed if we couldn't convince him to come to Arsenal ahead of Ajax and Monaco. No disrespect to those clubs. We're in a title challenge in the biggest league in the world. We can pay more wages. We have a Brazilian sporting director. We've got Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli. There's no reason we should be losing out in this deal. However, my opinion stays the same about Danilo. I'm not an expert on this guy. I haven't really watched him play, apart from a few bits and bobs when I've tried to do a little scouting mission since we've been linked with him. I can't tell you how good this guy is or not. A lot of you tell me in the comments that he's a very good player, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My worry about this transfer is, can he adjust quickly? And I want Arsenal to bring players in that can adjust pretty much straight away and push this team maybe over the finish line. Can Danilo do that? You know, that would be my question mark. Big up the Southern Gooner who said, shout out to the brother Curtis, got you on my headset while I'm doing nature photography. Big up, bro. Latte said Caicedo and Trossard. I've got to admit, Caicedo he's getting a big move. If he finishes the season the way he's been playing, he's getting a big move. And I like him. I just think he would be expensive because he's got quite a long time on his contract. Elliot Roberts, missed out on Ramirez. Do not miss out on Danilo. In the comments, how good do people think he is? I want to, people in the community, if you've watched him a little bit, how good is he? Is he the answer? Would you rather go for someone else? Would you rather go for a Tielemans? I'm almost at the point now where I think it's almost not worth talking about Tielemans, because I just don't think we're going for him. I think Arsenal want a defensive midfielder. That is something Yuri Tielemans certainly is not. And that's why I think we're not looking at him. I think they'll wait for Tielemans till the summer and try and get him on a free. I think they want a Douglas Luiz or Danilo. So how good is he? Cliffo said, no excuse. We can't fight for the title now. Tielemans and a winger now, please. Can't wait 6 months to adjust. And that's my problem. That is my problem. Like, I find it very difficult to get excited about this deal. Because I just think, is he going to hit the ground running? Anthony said, I've only seen Danilo on YouTube. No cap from me. Dylan said, I'm worried he's another Vieira. And let's be honest, man, we paid big, well, not big, but reasonably big dough for Vieira. And we haven't got a lot out of him so far. We're still talking about give him time. He needs a season. I think January signings are often bought for that instant impact. I need you now. When we lost Alexis, we bought Aubameyang. We needed him now. When Liverpool bought Van Dijk, it was now. Not for 6 months. Not for one season of adjusting. I need you to come in this team and lift us. So I don't know. On one hand, I'm like, he must be good. He's been in the Brazil squad. He's a young player. We can't turn our nose up at him. But at the same time, is he the guy we need? Time will tell. I think Arsenal are going to make an offer for him in January. If you can get him for £25 million, I think the club will definitely go for him. And I think they are still going to have concerns about Thomas Partey's injury record. Xhaka seems to be available nearly all the time. He doesn't often get injured. So I think the club are more thinking, get that defensive-minded player in case Thomas Partey gets injured so that we've got cover in that position. I think they would have gone back in for Douglas Luiz, but I just think the contract situation with him signing the new deal, they're not going to do that. So, yeah, we'll have to see on that one. It's an interesting one. But, yeah, Danilo, 25 million euros. Would you be happy with that? Would you go for someone else? XO said he's the Brazilian Bambi Lokonga. We don't want to see that. South London's finest, rather Luiz. He's broke up with his girlfriend. He may want to leave Birmingham now. There you go. Maybe he wants out. Maybe Emery will do us a favour. But the problem you got with Luiz now, because he's got 4 years, 5 years on that contract, Villa are going to want even more money for him. So that's where the problem is. Jay Black said, signings are tricky, Big C. Sometimes you buy an on-form player and he comes and doesn't deliver. Sometimes they do. It's always a gamble. The thing is, for me, I think at certain times you sign a player who's doing it. He's in the same environment. He speaks the language. The adjustment period is much easier. So for me, just as an example, and I've capped about this guy many times, if you sign Wilfried Zaha, I think the chances are higher that it's going to be successful for him rather than not. He lives in London. He knows the league. He's from here. He loves Arsenal. He's an Arsenal fan. He's going into an even better team than the team is in, so he's going to get the ball quicker. I just feel like if you was a betting man, you'd say that's going to work. With this Danilo from Brazil, I'm like, he's never played for Brazil. He's never played in Europe. From what I've seen and read about him, I don't think he speaks English. He's 20 years of age. If Thomas Partey was to get injured for any long period of time, have you got that confidence that this Danilo can play DM, go to the Manchester City game and handle Kevin De Bruyne? Does he understand the league? Is he going to be used to the speed of football? It's just a big risk in my opinion. Now, on one hand, I could be completely wrong. He could be the next big thing. He could be the next Casemiro, the next Fabinho, and we get him early, we get him cheap, and it's an absolute bargain. On the flip side, he could be the next, Fred, who you think, wow, this guy was good in Brazil and he looks terrible. So it's a tough one. I think because he's 25 million euros, which is about 21 million pounds, I think Arsenal will take the chance because I don't think that's a huge amount of money. And Arsenal will be bargain hunting, in my opinion, in January. I just think because I'm kind of having this mentality that I want Arsenal to try and win the league, two top signings could push us over the finish line. If he comes in and doesn't have a big impact, it will feel like a wasted transfer, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. Listen, if we sign him, I'll support him. I'll be shameless with it. I'll say he's the new Gilberto, the new Casemiro. If we don't sign him, I'll say I don't want nothing to do with him. He's unproven and I never wanted him anyway. You know how it goes. So, yeah, I think it's an investment. If you look at Arsenal's signings over the last few years, Ramsdale, Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba when we did sign him, Martinelli, all of these players are sort of players where it's like, I'm buying them now because I'm hoping in 2 years they're going to be really good. You look at Jesus and Zinchenko and Thomas Partey, they were bought to come in straight away and they all had impact straight away. I think we need players like that are proven, that can come in and just go, I'm ready, I can improve this team straight away. You haven't got to wait 2 or 3 years for me to get used to it. But we'll see. Arsenal seem to have a bit of a thing about signing players from the Premier League, I think. I know we signed Ben White, and I think we actually overpaid for him at the time. But, yeah, for me, listen, I think Arsenal will go for him, is what I will say. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to my main topic of discussion on today's show before we start to round up, and that is about Arsenal being linked with Barcelona striker Memphis Depay. He's been linked a little bit a few times over the past 6 months or so. The story's starting to liven up a little bit. Stories come out of Spain, actually, so they're reporting it. It could be coming from their agents over there. They're trying to push him out of the door. The story coming out of The Sport, which is one of the main newspapers in Spain, they could be willing to let Memphis Depay leave in January for just £5 million. His contract runs out in the summer, and Barcelona don't want him to leave for free. They want to get something rather than nothing for him. Memphis Depay is an interesting player for me. Man United signed him. He won Player of the Year in Holland. Got the big move to United. He was a left winger, very quick. Didn't happen for him. A lot of people would say flopped in the Premier League. Went to Lyon, became the striker, became the captain, did really well. Seemed to show a lot of maturity and got the big move to Barcelona. And it just hasn't happened for him at Barcelona. I think the problem is he's not a big goal scorer. And I think Barcelona wanted a striker who hits the back of the net more. That's why they got Aubameyang. That's why they eventually got Robert Lewandowski. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to ask your opinion. I'm actually going to put a poll in the comments, right? I think Arsenal need a striker. Jesus, good player, not hitting the back of the net that much, but still had a great season so far in terms of the rest of his game. But Eddie, for me, is nowhere near good enough. Not even close. For £5 million, I would be prepared to take a risk on Memphis Depay. I think he's still got more to prove. He's 28 years of age. He still can improve, in my opinion. And I'm looking at what he did. His last season at Lyon, the 2020-21 season, he played 37 games in the league, got 20 goals and 12 assists. That is a fantastic season. I know we're talking about the French league, and people will say, French tax and that league isn't great. But when you're not playing for the best team in France and you're doing that, there's obviously quality there, and Barcelona signed him for a reason. He played 28 games for Barcelona last year. Only 18 of them were starts. In 18 starts, he got 12 goals. So still not bad. I personally would take him for £5 million. I would definitely take a chance on him. And I always say this, Kwesi, sometimes people say, no, I wouldn't take him. But then I go, 20 minutes to go at Anfield, who would you rather was coming on, Memphis Depay or Eddie Nketiah? It's an absolute no-brainer for me. But I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Would you sign Memphis Depay for £5 million? And now, I am going to add some balance to the argument. I don't want it to be one-sided. He earns £180,000 a week at Barcelona, so he's not on peanuts. You're not getting him in terms of cheap wages, I would imagine he's going to want at least the same amount of money that he's getting at Barcelona. And the fact you pay more tax in England, you may have to pay him £200,000 a week, which is a lot. Would you take Memphis Depay for 5 million in January? I got to be honest, I would take the risk. Because I still think there's a talented player there. He can play on the left. He can play central. Can drop into that 10. I suppose the flip side of it, can Mikel Arteta handle him? He's got a bit of an ego and personality as well. Is he going to like somebody like that? You know, he likes the flashy cars. He's doing hip-hop tunes. Let's see what you got to say. Let me know in the comments. Man Out of Time said, see Unit, big fan of you and your show. Think Depay is a poor man's Gabriel Jesus. Would much rather sign Gakpo. Different attacking option than what we have. But don't you think we need a defensive midfielder first? Yeah, and listen, one thing I'll say about this, I mean, you know me, I've been capping on this show for months about signing Zaha. You know, Zaha can play left wing, right wing, and he can play through the middle. I would be happy with Zaha. I would be happy with Memphis Depay. I would take Gakpo. I just want another option. I want somebody different. I think the reason Depay kind of appeals to me is because the guy, you're talking about £5 million. £5 million is absolutely, you know, bargain settings. But like I said, big wages as well. He can dance with Robbie. Yeah, why not? Why not? Even Zinchenko has a hip-hop tune. There we go. Maybe they can rap together, you know? No, give me Gakpo and Bellingham. I mean, XO, man, listen. Whilst I agree with what you're saying, it's going to cost you 100 million to get Jude Bellingham, and Arsenal aren't about to... they're not about to spend 100 million pounds, and Bellingham ain't about to come to Arsenal anyway. I get you with Gakpo. Gakpo's younger, easier to manage, can play left wing, room for development. It would cost more money, though. That's all. I'm just thinking because January, I think we're going to have a cheap market. And Gakpo signed a new 4-year contract in the summer, so they're going to want 35, 40 million quid for him. And I got to be honest, I don't think Gakpo has looked that great when I've watched him. I thought the first game against Arsenal, he was shocking. The second game, he was good, to be fair, but I thought that Xavi Simons was better. And even yesterday for Holland, I know Gakpo scored, so I have to give him some credit, but I thought he looked average in that game. So how good is he, you know? And, you know, time will tell. But Memphis, I think Memphis, his CV is a lot bigger and better than Gakpo's. He's performed much better for Holland. And like I said, at Lyon, he was fantastic. There's something about Mikel that I think if people come in January with attitudes, he can tone them down, get them to focus on this team and the title race. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, there's going to have to be a point where Mikel Arteta shows that he can handle somebody who can be considered a bit of a difficult player. You look at Arsene Wenger, and I know we're rewinding it a little bit here. They used to call Nicolas Anelka Le Souk. They said he was a sulky player, difficult to manage, very moody. Thierry Henry, I've heard from a number of people, Thierry Henry was a very moody, at times miserable player if things didn't go his way. When everything was going great, he was, you know, everyone loved him. He was very moody, you know, and can be difficult to manage. But the reality is, sometimes that's the price you pay for a top footballer. Look at Wayne Rooney when he first went to Man United. You know, he was getting in controversy off the pitch, getting red cards, kicking people. Look at Cantona. Man was fly kicking people, but sometimes you got to take that baggage for the top player sometimes, you know. I'm not necessarily saying that Memphis Depay is anywhere near those levels, but what I'm saying is you can't always sign the nice boy, you know, the Ramsdale, the Ben White, the Saka, who are never going to cause you no problem. A lot of these top players come with baggage, and it's just the reality of it. Just said, Big C, your commentary for the Saudi goal. Second goal is second to none. Hey, it was vibes, man. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Rooney, yeah, yeah, Rooney, man. Ben said, see, you were right about Gakpo. He's an average player. I just, every time I watch Gakpo, I'm like, what's the hype around him? I feel like maybe he spams goals in the Dutch league when they're playing the lower teams, but I don't see it with him. No to this poll. Sorry, are you going to start Depay at whose expense? It's competition. We need competition. You look at the top players. Look at the top clubs, right? Look at Liverpool. Liverpool signed Luis Diaz, right? One of the best upcoming left wingers in Europe when they had Sadio Mane left wing. Now, Liverpool could have sat there and said, well, don't sign Luis Diaz. Who's he going to play ahead of? Competition. Some weeks Diaz was on the bench. Some weeks Mane was on the bench. Sometimes Mane played through the middle. You need that at top clubs. You can't say because we got Saka, Martinelli and Jesus that we can't sign anybody. That's how we get higher. When Arsenal were successful, we had Kanu on the bench. We had Wiltord on the bench. We had top players there. So we need that. Manchester City don't worry about that. Mahrez been sitting on the bench most of this season. Grealish at times is on the bench. So, yeah, we'll have to see. But, yeah, we'll see. Let me see what you are saying in the poll. Would you sign Memphis Depay in January for £5 million? 65% of you say yes. 35% of you say no. Whilst I agree with some of you, I think there are better options, maybe younger ones. For £5 million, I would see if you could sign him on a shorter contract. I wouldn't want to commit to him for like 4 or 5 years. I would wonder if could you get him to sign maybe a 2-year deal? He only signed a 2-year deal at Barcelona, which is how they're getting him out the door quickly. I would say, look, £5 million, we'll give you 2 years. If it doesn't work out after 1 year, we'll just shift him on the cheap. It's not the end of the world. The £5 million's not going to harm us. We spent £72 million on Pepe, £17 million on Sambi Lokonga, £35 million on Fabio Vieira. These are guys who didn't have half the CV that Memphis Depay has got. So it wouldn't be my ideal signing. Definitely not. But I'd be prepared to give him a chance. If we signed him, I would actually back that signing. Gunakai said it's not about having an attitude or ego, it's about having a right attitude. And do you know what? You're spot on there. Because the reality is, if we just look, for example, at Aubameyang, right? Aubameyang was the same player all the time. I heard stories that Aubameyang was turning up late for a long, long time before it all came out. Now, the reality is, they accepted the fact he was late. They accepted the fact he was driving gold Lamborghinis and he had, because who cares when you're doing well? It's like anything. When you're doing well, people, I don't care about, Aubameyang's late. All right, cool, but he's a golden boot winner. Yeah, we'll put up with it. Look at Kevin Campbell. He came on the show. He said Ian Wright was constantly late all the time, but he was our best striker, so nobody cared. They never leaked it to the press. Aubameyang's attitude only became a problem when he stopped scoring. He stopped scoring, and they said, this guy turns up late all the time. He's putting up pictures of Lambos all the time. Doesn't look like he wants to work hard to find his form. And now he's not scoring, so now it becomes a problem. Same thing happened with Paul Pogba. No one cared that Pogba was putting up videos dancing in his house and driving, Ferraris and Lambos. No one cared when he was balling out. As soon as his form dropped, they're on the radio, look at his haircut. I mean, the haircut's got nothing to do with how he's playing. But that's what they do in the British media, you see. Start cherry-picking at everything. So you're right. You can have an attitude and an ego, but if you perform, then it doesn't matter. 1 year deal is okay. 5 million fee, 1.4 million wages. I can live with that if he flops. Yeah, exactly. I'd say, look, we'll give you a deal till the end of next season. 18 months, 5 million. Anthony said, in truth, Aubameyang also stopped scoring because he was being played left wing back game after game. It's funny, right? I saw it's a few people have been mentioning this, and I've tried not to talk about it too much, but people are now saying that, does Arteta have this thing that when you play up front in Arteta's system, you start scoring like less goals? He walked into a golden boot winning Aubameyang, and all of a sudden his goals went down, down, down. He then promoted Lacazette. Now, Lacazette was not a big goal scorer anyway, but he had his lowest ever scoring season under Mikel Arteta. We've all of a sudden signed Gabriel Jesus. Now, Jesus having a brilliant season in terms of performance, but we can't hide from the fact he's gone 10 games without scoring, which I don't care what level of football you play at, Sunday League, amateur, any level. If you're a striker and you don't score for 10 games, there's a problem. It doesn't matter how good you're playing. There is a problem. We're getting away with it at the moment because other people are scoring. But is it because he wants you to do so much work that you're not in the penalty area as much, you don't score as many goals? I mean, just looking at Gabby Jesus' career, I mean, he's only actually had 2 seasons at Manchester City where he's even hit double figures in the league, which is unbelievable. 14 goals, his highest ever goal scoring season. 8 goals last year, 9 the year before, 14, 7, 13 and 7. The first 7 was in 10 games, half a season. So maybe he just doesn't hit the back of the net that much. People saying conspiracy theories. No, I'm just saying, is it a coincidence that strikers don't score as much under Arteta? And maybe he's setting up a system where he's going to be like our Firmino. Did you see Edu shared a story on Insta that said, now get them needed signings for the second half of the season and let's win the title? No, I didn't even see that. I haven't seen nothing about that. But listen, everything he says, you never know, man. You never know with him. Hopefully he does it. Kenyan Guna, big up for becoming a member. We're going to do a member stream this week. Probably Friday. I'm going to aim for Friday. So keep yourself peeled for that. Hopefully get lots of you on for that one. Bit of a mid-season review with Arsenal, what you want to see in the transfer window, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to find that thing with Edu, if I can find it on Twitter. Edu, what's that? What's Edu saying? No, I can't see it. Maybe it's not showing up on Twitter. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at, people. Matty Cash is Polish, yeah, plays right back for them. I think his granddad's from there. Oh, it was a few days ago, so it's probably disappeared off the story. Yeah, member stream Friday, people. Get yourself on there. Let's have a good chat about the season and the way everything's going so far. XO said I would go for Mudryk, Bellingham, Cody, Gakpo. Remember, Henry was a winger. It's just too much money, though, XO. That's the only thing. Maybe Bellingham's going to be 100 M's just by himself. Gakpo's going to be 30, 40. Mudryk's 50. You're talking 180, and I don't even think Bellingham would come to Arsenal. Not in January, definitely not. Okwo said, Jesus is missing chances. That is not an Arteta. Do you know what? That's a fantastic point. That is a brilliant point, because it got to a point with Lacazette, he wasn't even getting chances. Whereas with Gabby Jesus, he is actually getting a lot of chances, but he's just missing them. So, yeah, probably got to blame him, to be honest. Ivan said, Curtis, it's Jesus' fault for not scoring for Arteta. He's missed 10 big chances. Crazy Kem said, I love Jesus, but we need a goal scorer. Maybe Jesus can provide some assists. French watch along later. Possibly. We'll see about that one. I might do. No, I wouldn't say it's not because he's in the box. He just hasn't been clinical enough. No, you've made a good point there, because when I think about it, he has had enough chances. And he's just not putting them away at the moment. So hopefully when he comes back from the World Cup, he'll be a bit of a different character. Maybe a bit of time with a different group. We'll add something to him. Just quickly before we get out of here, and speaking of the French game, just quickly want to talk about Saliba. Whoa. Will he play tonight for France? He's, according to reports coming out of the French media, he's not going to start, which I think is a real shame for him. I would have liked to have seen him starting tonight. They're saying that Konate from Liverpool or Lucas Hernandez will play at centre-back next to Varane ahead of him, which I think is outrageous, to be honest. I do like Konate. I think Konate's a bit of a beast. But I was hoping Saliba was going to get the chance next to Varane and start, but doesn't look like he's going to. So maybe he won't play that much. Listen, every cloud has a silver lining. We keep him out of the limelight for other teams to come and sign him if he doesn't play. But personally, it would have been nice for him to have got a start. So we'll see how that one goes, people. People, I am out of here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just below an hour today. Make sure you like the video. Apologies that YouTube notifications are not popping up as well. We'll do lots more World Cup watch-alongs over the next few days as well, and more Arsenal content to come, people, and a few collabs as well. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for everyone who tuned in this morning and tuned in today. Lick that like button on the way out, and I will see you all soon, people. Bless.